Okay, good morning. This is Richard Hsu, host of Hsu Untied. This morning, I'm very pleased to have with me as my guest Lily Zhang, who's a partner at Jones Day. Lily, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Richard, for having me.
So, Lily, you have one of the more unusual backgrounds I come across for lawyers. You had an undergraduate degree in double E in computer science from UC Berkeley, no less. Tell me a little bit about what made you choose that major in the first place.
Well, so two reasons. I'm a child of Silicon Valley,
Mm.
and so it's a natural, if not expected, choice growing up in Cupertino to go into a tech-related field. But there's also family history. So my parents grew up during the Cultural Revolution in China.
Mm.
And so as a result of that, they weren't really able to complete their education, right? So college, even high school, really. My dad has always had an interest in EE.
Mm.
And so although he wasn't able to pursue a formal education, he would tinker at home. And so he would build radios. And the story that my grandmother is especially, or was especially fond of telling, is how at 16 years old, my dad built an actual television set, a working television
Oh,
set from
no.
parts he scavenged around the factory he worked. And so back in those days, as you can imagine, television sets were rare. And so the
Yeah.
entire neighborhood came to watch TV in our
Wow.
living room. And so going into double ECS, I guess it's my way of doing something or living my dad's dream, right? He
Yeah.
really wasn't given the opportunity to pursue it formally.
Oh, interesting. Well, what about you? Did you do anything like that in high school, remotely like that? Did you build any projects or do anything like that?
I wish I was as talented, naturally talented as my dad was. But no, I to be honest, I love to draw. And so that's what I did in high school.
Interesting. Well, so I mean, double E and CS is pretty broad. I was almost a double E major myself. Did you focus more on the computer science part of it, or did you focus more on the double E side of it?
So the philosophy at Berkeley was that they really wanted, um, whether you're double E or CS, they really wanted you to have a fundamental understanding of both, right? The rationale behind that was, whether you're building circuitry or whether you're coding, you can't really do either very well unless you have some understanding of the other side of things.
Hmm.
And so I guess I follow that philosophy to the core. I never, I think the curriculum is that you would do all these lower division courses in both, right?
Hmm.
And then maybe go more one direction or the other. But I just chose a broad spectrum of courses.
Hmm. Which classes did you like better? Did you like the programming side or more the double E side?
Um, I really, really, really enjoyed this one circuitry class where we
Mhm.
had to build a video receiver, actually.
Hmm.
And so that was probably one of the most challenging projects we've had to do. And so all the vertical blanking and the horizontal blanking, a lot of timing issues.
Hmm.
I think from a practical perspective, it really, really, really challenged your problem solving
Hmm.
skills to the
Hmm.
core.
Hmm. That's a digital circuit design class then.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So how about any senior thesis or anything? Did you do any big senior project or anything that you accomplished?
No, but one thing that I will never forget, and I think it's actually not a successful project, but a failure. There's a big project that we had to do, and it's an elevator algorithm.
Okay.
And so I was on a team with three other guys, and we never we were never able to successfully complete that project. Our elevator algorithm never worked.
Huh.
And it kind of stuck with me for years. I would walk into a building with a large elevator bank and just be like, oh my God, this is still haunting me. I'm still trying to figure out why it never worked. But I think to me, that is a great example. I think later on, I've come to realize really the art of computer programming,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which is, I think we were too focused on the edge cases. The four of us sat there and
Mm.
basically like listed out all the different edge cases that we had to cover in our elevator algorithm. what we failed to do really, right, was to see the forest. We were too focused on these outlier trees.
Mm,
And I think that's the true art of programming, right? Which is
mm,
to be able to see, to kind of, you know, account for these outliers, but also understand the forest, right? Your overall problem. And not only that, scale the forest up,
yeah,
right, to other outliers.
yeah. So what was your career goal then at this point after getting this ECS degree? Did you want to be a founder? Did you want to be an engineer? What was kind of your career goal at this time?
I was lost. And so I think this is the first instance of my impeccably poor timing graduating from school.
Uh-huh.
So I graduated right into the dot-com, or the first dot-com bust.
Uh-huh.
And so I really wasn't that interested in
Oh,
necessarily being an engineer.
huh.
And so I thought, well, we'll see what else is out there,
Huh.
right? And a friend of a friend actually said, hey, you know, you do have this engineering degree, right? Whether you really want to get into it, you should think about this thing called patent law.
Funny.
I had no idea what patent law was at that point, but it did sound interesting. And it also afforded me some time to really, I guess, figure out what I wanted to do with
Mm,
my life.
mm.
Which I'm sure you hear this a lot from people who choose to go to law school, which, you know, after undergrad, they didn't know what to do. And
Mm.
so the obvious choice is to say, okay, I'm going to go get a graduate degree, and maybe I'll go to law school.
Yeah. So you never even worked as an engineer, or did you?
I did not.
Yeah.
I did not.
Mhm. Okay. But so you just kind of dove into the law school thing, or did you even research a little bit what patent lawyers do and things like that, or you just went right to law school?
So I did spend about 2 years at a law firm in New York City.
Oh, okay.
I was a paralegal,
Uh-huh.
although not in IP.
I see.
It was litigation, and we did a lot of mediation in the insurance space.
Uh-huh.
And so the crazy thing is, I think, you know, even up until the end of law school, I had not the most exposure, right, to the actual practice of patent law. Because
Hmm.
now I think I'm on the other side of it, and I realize, you know, there's a lot, right, to what it actually means
Yeah.
to be an IP lawyer and to practice patent prosecution. But at the time, you know, it's very abstract.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how did you like law school? Very different from obviously double E and CS. What'd you think? Did you like it? Love it? Hard to adjust to at the beginning?
It actually wasn't that hard to adjust to.
Hmm.
So one of the things that I think the greatest thing I learned from Berkeley is a problem solving mindset,
Hmm.
right? Like how you go about solving problems, and very pragmatic, very logical. I think in that sense, how lawyers think and how engineers think, that's actually not very different,
Hmm.
right? Granted, the material's different. My first class in law school was contracts. And I remember walking in first day, and the professor going, oh, what is consideration? Right? And why is consideration the most important thing to a valid contract? And it's just, wow, what is this? This is, I think that first week, I may have had some buyer's remorse,
Yeah.
but after that, I
Yeah.
really start to
Yeah. Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
sort of the legal mindset.
Yeah, yeah. Well, fast forward to your career today. Do you feel like you really get to use your double E and CS degree, and how so?
So I think the way that training comes into play today, Berkeley was very independent,
Hmm.
right? They really wanted you to be self-sufficient, meaning, you know, they want you to take the time and be able to learn a lot on your own. Um, I think that is the biggest skill that I took with me coming out of WECS. To me, you know, Berkeley was a humbling experience, let's just say. I was humbled by just the sheer amount of knowledge and intelligence that was around me. And so I've always thought, and this is still very true today, that the goal isn't to walk into a room and be the smartest person. Certainly, the worst thing to do is to walk into a room and think you're the smartest person, or to come across as the smartest person. But I want to walk in a room and be the most curious person. Right?
Hmm.
I'm always asking questions. My practice today, it thrives on the fact I don't, I'm not joking when I say this. I have the practice that I have today because of a lot of very smart people humored probably a lot of my hopefully not too stupid questions. It's a perpetual learning experience.
Mhm. What's the hardest technology you've had to wrestle with as a patent attorney, would you say?
So I come from a double ECS background,
Uh-huh.
and I think for the first 6, 7, 8 years of my practice, I was very adamant that I wasn't going to cross over into the life science
Uh-huh.
space.
Uh-huh.
Um, I knew I wasn't trained for it, and I kind of see, the folks on the life science side, and they all have, PhDs, postdocs, and
Mhm.
it's just very intimidating.
Mm.
But a lot of the work that I do in AI and machine learning progressed into the life science space.
Mm.
And so the biggest challenge I've had to face was crossing over. During the pandemic, I took a huge leap of faith, really, and said,
Mm.
hey, you know what? I'm actually going to learn a lot more
Oh, wow.
about biology than I ever intended to. So
Hmm.
that way I could apply what I've, always done, which is AI and machine learning in the life science space.
Oh, wow, that's cool. So now is your practice kind of a mix between life sciences and engineering? Oh, interesting.
Absolutely.
Huh. Huh. Well, that's really cool. And is that you find you're enjoying that as well, or you still enjoy the double E side more?
I enjoy seeing how double ECS can have such a profound effect
Mm.
in life science, in
Mm.
drug discovery.
Yeah.
It's always great to see these technologies sort of come out of the abstract, right? Because a lot of times when you're in school, it is very abstract. You're learning a lot about theory, but to see it actually in practice and to see the innovations and the way it's really changing the way we discover drugs, right?
Yeah.
The way we treat patients, it's absolutely inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. What did your engineering dad think about you becoming a lawyer then?
I think my dad was, I think he always thought I was going to be more of a lawyer because I think he always thought I was more of a talker than sitting in a, in a lab and tinkering with things.
Well, Lily, this has been a fascinating conversation. I really appreciate your taking the time to share your story. As a former engineer turned patent lawyer, I always enjoy these stories, and you did not disappoint me. So thanks so much for doing it.
I'm so glad that we did this. Thank you so much, Richard.
This is Richard Hsu and Lily Zhang. Thanks.